remember my truth, connected to I remember where I came from, I remember my truth, connected to the heavens with deep solid roots. What a gift to be awake.
Good one.
As we enter the golden age. The wisdom of the temples, the arts that got lost, stolen and abused, while worshippers of the dark, they are reclaimed by the priestesses of the golden age. I call upon Mary Magdalene, Isis and Arthur, divine feminine. Bless us with your teachings. May we receive your grace while weaving ancient and future in the golden age. Everything I've been through, the fires of hell, got me on the path, initiated once again, and I embrace my role as a leader in the golden age. I call upon Mary Magdalene, Isis and Arthur, divine feminine. Bless us with your teachings. May we receive your grace while weaving ancient and future in the golden age.
Beautiful introduction to a beautiful chat. That's The Golden Age by the wonderful Afia, which is my daughter's name, would you believe? But today, yes, we are on day 5 of our Rise of the Rebel Matriarch Leadership Summit, and we've had such a beautiful day already. I've already been sitting in circle with Andrea as we listened into Jane Hardwick Collins. But today we have Andrea here, Andrea Marie Iapaolo. And Andrea is an incredible writer and evolutionary life coach whose work explores the deeper spiritual landscape of women's lives. She is writing her own book called Becoming the Mystic, a menopause memoir. And through storytelling, she weaves together themes of purpose, surrender, growth, and mysticism, inviting women to recognize the profound wisdom that lives within our unfolding journey. So Andrea is a dear friend who lives here in Indonesia alongside me, and a great friend also of Ron, who is the editor of Rebel Ma, who introduced us and who is a gift to this world. And I could not do the work that I do without him. So I just wanted to honor him today, because he is who brought us together, and he is who keeps Rebel Ma together, literally in the back end, doing the little bits and bobs that I have no idea how to do or want to do. And he keeps the wheels turning and the dream burning in my womb. To have that support is like absolutely life-changing. So Andrea is a contributor, as I said, to the Rebel Ma Leading in the Time of the Feminine Women's Stories of Revolution book, where her chapter is written in such deep reverence to her mother. I loved how you opened your chapter, Andrea, and you speak about your mother as a woman whose presence, you know, shaped your understanding, your devotion, and the feminine wisdom that you embody and that you hold within, and that you're so generous in sharing. And the story really honors the kind of role models that every girl deserves to witness in her life, you know, a woman rooted in truth, in compassion, in spiritual depth. And I'm looking forward to just exploring that a little bit with you, you know, and letting you take the mic to share your vision for the world that you know know is possible for the children, a world where women are held and guided through the sacred thresholds of life, and a world where rites of passage are restored, and where council of women gather like we are in this week with the summit to witness each other, to initiate one another, and to support each other through the great transformations of becoming. So I'm really, really looking forward to having you and sharing you and your voice and your work, and giving you that platform to let us have a little peek in behind the scenes of becoming the mystic.
Thank you. That's lovely. I love it. Yeah, I mean, the book itself was inspired by my mother, definitely. It was inspired by the way that she showed me what a woman was, by the way she lived her own life, and by the way she defied sort of like the difficulties of women of her time, you know, in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and how she always brought across to me what a privilege and a luxury it is to be a woman. And that if we're not feeling that, then something's wrong inside. And so she very much inspired me to begin writing this book, and to begin sharing, almost the entire book is coming from the different stories that I tell are about her, are about my experience of her with women and as a woman growing up, and then my experience with all the different thresholds from menstruation, maiden, menstruation, all the way up. Even death, she talked to me about, and how that too was a privilege and part of a rite of passage, especially for women, and what gets passed on. And the good reasons why women live longer than men, and why women age, and how they come into themselves with each new age, and how they have a responsibility to pass on all of what they learn, all the stories, all the remedies, all the everything, pass it on, pass it down, because then that's how we change, the ancestry, the lineage. That's how we purify the lineage. And the lineage needs to be purified big time. So how are we talking to our girls? How are we raising them? Are we being honest? One of the things I really loved about my mother was that she always told the truth, like all the time, to us, to me, to my sisters, anything I would ask. And she pledged that to us one day. Anything you ask me, I promise I will always tell you the truth. That was one of my first awakenings in my life. Because when she said that, I felt so seen, so heard, so trusted, because she not only trusted me with the truth, but she trusted me to interpret it and to understand it in my way, which was good enough, And so it was the first time that and I was 5 when she said that to me. And it was the first time that I was just like there was something more. There was something more about me, something more for me. That was the first beginnings of like a calling or a mission or a purpose. And I couldn't have named it that then, but there was all of a sudden a spaciousness that didn't exist before. So that was really beautiful. And it is her ability to always tell me the truth, coupled with actually a lot of the hardships that she went through, a lot of the difficulties, a lot of the ways she was shunned or belittled or told to shut up. That coupled with her telling me the truth always really kind of shaped the truth for me and what I knew to be true about women, even though she went through a hard time and she suffered and she had a lot of trauma from being a woman who always told the truth in the world. I still felt her as being in awe of women, no matter who she spoke to, like any other women, because she was such a champion for women. And whenever she spoke to women about whatever hardships or difficulties they were going through, she never wasted a moment to let them know how amazing it was to be a woman. And that just because there are these hardships doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you at all, or that you shouldn't have been born a woman. And that's where my love of the feminine and love of being a woman comes from.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's just such a beautiful thing to have a role model like that, you know, who really, her presence shaped your understanding of feminine wisdom, of spiritual devotion. And tell me what, like, you know, becoming the mystic, then what does that truly mean for a woman living today in the modern world? Like you said about your mother, she showed up in different ways for the times that she lived in, and now the times are obviously different, but very much the teachings we teach our children are ancient. So how does it, like, what does it mean to become a mystic in this day and age?
I just think really that becoming the mystic is what every woman who comes to earth is destined to become, period. Like, I don't think it's something that you have to figure out. It's not like, oh, I need to do this thing to become a mystic, or I need to, no. Becoming the mystic is literally our collective sort of mission and purpose. One of them. You know, we have our individual missions and purpose, but we have, the feminine has a collective mission, which is becoming the mystic. And all that means is slowly but surely, as we go through all of our rites of passage and we learn and we grow and we let go, we die to our old selves and we rebirth, and we just continue to receive everything that comes our way in order to learn and grow. Like, as soon as we perceive every rite of passage as a privilege, as a gateway to our growth, as a way to shed what's old and step into what's new, then we get one step closer to becoming mystic, because that's what mystic is, right? Somebody who has let go of all of the trappings of life to know that, you know, as they grow and learn, they have more to share, more to give. And literally, I believe that becoming the mystic for all women is how we change and grow the world at large. Like, I think our growth is the world's growth. The decisions we make for ourselves, if they're based in truth and alignment, are good decisions for everyone. And if we make decisions that aren't good for us as women, they are not good for anyone. You know, so learning how to take care of ourselves good enough to make those decisions and step into those places, because I think that literally the world is birthed and raised through us, through mothers, you know? So everything we do affects the world at large. Ascension itself is the growth through our rites of passage and the growth of the world. Like, every birth is like a rebirthing the world every single time. Like, literally every time a woman births, there's another piece of what we're supposed to have in this world, you know, how we're supposed to perceive it. So really all that's left there for me in terms of becoming the mystic is for women to finally own it. Just really own everything about themselves. And it's a myriad of different ways. You know, it's not one way, or you should go this way or that. It's not that. It's more just owning that there's a journey that every woman is going to go through, and owning that if you fight that journey, you're going to suffer. But if you embrace that journey, you're not only going to grow, you're literally going to become the mystic. The mystic is the one who has one foot in this world and one foot in the unseen world. We're born that way, we'll die that way. As we go through everything, we come back to the mystic again. We're born as mystics. Then we go through all our rites of passage, all our ups and downs, all our trauma, raising and whatever. And if we're lucky and we can own the transitions of our rites of passage, we will die as mystics. It'll be one big return back to the mystic again.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And you hold a powerful vision. I know, like, you know, obviously each rite of passage shapes us and makes us who we are. It gives us, as Jane said earlier, the like idea of who we are. It whatever happens or doesn't happen kind of informs what we believe culture sees or perceives us as being, you know. Like if we're told to hide our menarche and our blood, then we feel shame. And if we are
Yeah.
robbed of our power in birth, then we feel completely like our bodies are a failure, or you know, that we are not good mothers. And you know, if we miss out on the opportunity to embrace menopause and to embrace aging, then I don't know, what would you say is the effect of that? Would that kind of get in the way of being able to become this mystic, as you say, return to the mystic?
Yeah, well, for
That's the
sure.
state you're
It
in.
makes you invisible. That's what happens. Like as we age, we're kind of conditioned to become more invisible. But instead, what menopause does is it makes us so visible, right? And so if we continue to act from our conditioning and we stay invisible, we not only don't receive the gift of menopause and the changes that we're supposed to receive, neither does the world. And without those changes, the world can't move into the next phase of what it needs to become. We are such an intricate part of that ascension. It's incredible. So it's like remembering that we have to be seen when we're getting old, that we have to be speaking, that we have to be sharing. Elders all over the place, that's their job. That's our job. Our job is to share. When you become a grandmother, which is like the height of a matriarchal expression, where you can mentor grandchildren. They may not even be your own grandchildren through birth, because I don't believe that you become a mother through birth. I think all women are mothers, all women are grandmothers, all women are mystics. Children are birthed or blessed, it doesn't matter. I mean, I cross paths with children all over the place and I just mother them, obviously, you know. But when we become invisible, when we make ourselves small and we want to go through perimenopause in silence, or menopause without talking about it or sharing anything with anybody, it turns it into something vile and dirty and gross, and it speaks of lack and loss and decline, and those things could not be further from the truth. You know, it's all of those rites of passage. All they're doing is making us more free and more relevant and more beautiful. I mean, what is beauty but a woman who sees herself and rises to meet herself and then sees herself again and rises to meet herself again? I mean, isn't that beauty? Change, being able to move from one stage to another, being able to shed our old inherited scripts and speak for ourselves. I mean, that's what beauty is to me. And so menopause and all of those rites of passage, they just make us more and more beautiful as we age. I've never felt better in my whole life than now. I'm postmenopausal. I would be considered 58, like grandmother age. And I've never felt more beautiful. I've never felt more vital. I've never felt more sort of like importance for me to show up. And I would never covet my younger self. You know, I mean, it was great. She was great while she was here. But now that she's no longer here, it's like there's a wizened, more beautiful, more amazing version who can do so much more and be so much more. You almost can't help it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I feel like my capacity is growing and I'm the same. I feel really like, oh, fuck, I'm able for this. Like, and all of the old stories that you're not good enough or you're not worthy of it, they're all kind of gone now. I'm not wasting my time with any of that shit. You know, I'm just
Right.
here. I know what I'm here to do and I'm going to do it and I'll find a way. And it doesn't feel so hard or heavy or like worrying, you know, or confronting. And I love, like, you know, this time actually, when we speak about aging, I've seen these things saying act your age and act your rage, right? Because when we move into menopause, or, you know, even perimenopause, just that point in our lives where we do not give a fuck anymore about the things, well, this is where we're supposed to be at. Like, we do have this ability to, like, own all of who we are and remember what matters and tend to what matters more. And we have more capacity because we're not so in the early throes of motherhood or whatever. You know, we have space opening up to mother all, and not just our own children if we have children. But in terms of the aging conversation, like, what's made me raging lately is like noticing how much all these beauty standards that are fucking forced upon us. And to me, since all of growing up as a millennial, you know, these have all been forced upon us by the men who are actual pedophiles who fancy children, you know what I mean? And we're all upholding ourselves to these standards and trying to stay young for these dirty old men who are like, and that just makes me a little bit sick, because when I look back at all of the, you know, buying my first bloody thong from Victoria's Secret, or covering myself in like the Body Shop shit, or wearing those real low high-rise jeans, and like, you know, all of this stuff that was, we were only kids, we were only children. And it's getting worse and worse by the day, really, in terms of social media and keeping up with the Kardashians. And now then women at our age, you know, who are trying to forever stay young with all of these different, you know, injections in their faces, and trying to change and trying to, I guess they're robbing themselves now. We're not being robbed anymore of our rites of passage. They are robbing themselves of this rite of passage of allowing their wisdom to be embodied, about allowing themselves to own all of who they are, and operate from that place, you know. It just, it just feels very alive for me.
No, I agree 100%. I think that's what I mean, what I meant earlier about flipping the script, right? It's not like being young. Are you kidding? Forget about that. Like I said, I would never go back. And I don't mean, I mean, I would never go back. Like, I don't want to, it's just, it's silly. It's silliness. It has no place in what this is. There's only the women who make it this far and who begin to speak out and begin to get to know themselves and begin to move only when they're moved. And they listen to that sourcefulness inside of themselves. Like, that's true self-care. It's only when they do that that then this woman of this age is moving in overflow. Only then. And so that's where we're headed, is to start understanding that aging is the shit, not staying young. It's not that being young isn't the shit. Of course it is. But staying young, that is for sure not the shit. Staying anything for too long is never going to be it. It's never going to be it. We have to transform and we have to change. And what's beautiful in transformation is that nothing is lost. It's the first law of thermodynamics. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It merely transforms into a different form. That is our rites of passage. We lose nothing in that transformation. It's just changing and growing and expanding, and we have to flip that script. Staying young, this is not a good way to look at life as a woman.
Absolutely not. And in your chapter for Rebel Ma, and obviously in your book, you know, you hold this powerful vision. Obviously, in ancient times and in ancient cultures and in indigenous cultures, women were held by councils of other women. You know, there was very much the village, and there was very much the circle of women around you, and there was rites of passage where, you know, you were actually initiated by the women that held counsel around you. And we've lost that in these modern day times that we have now. And, you know, what can be really powerful about having a rite of passage honored by elders and by the people who love you, to be able to kind of let go of anything that may have happened or did not happen in that time, and clear the space to move into the next phase with forgiveness and with compassion and with gratitude and with love and with reverence for yourself. And I can imagine now just standing in the middle of a circle while all of these beautiful elders and mothers and friends and sisters around me throwing roses at my feet and just like thanking me and reminding me of my magic, and encouraging me to let go of anything that I need to in order to move into the next, flourish into this beautiful flower for the next evolution of who I get to become. And I know that's very romanticized vision, but that is what happens at rites of passage that are honored. And I'd love for you to show, tell us about this powerful vision you have of councils of women and the return of this sacred rites of passage. But in the modern age, how do we do that? And now that we have technology and all these different ways of coming together, just like, give me the vision of how we make that possible, and not only possible, but inevitable, which seems to be a very big theme of this summit.
Yeah, I think it's happening already. Like your space, for instance, is already a beginning of that. We're talking about a sisterhood, and we're talking about a worldwide sisterhood, not these little pockets. They're all going to join together eventually. Eventually, there'll be one space with many different factions and many different, places. But the idea is that no woman will ever have to go through any rites of passage alone, and every woman has another woman's ear, heart, and heart. That's my vision. And it should be like that from the beginning. I even believe that a sisterhood, a worldwide sisterhood, holds a space for all unborn daughters. So that when a daughter is born, she is immediately initiated into that sisterhood. And as she grows up, is taught an awareness of the existence of that sisterhood, so that she not only has her mother or her sisters or her family that may help her through those thresholds, but she has the rest of the world. I mean, menopause is a global pilgrimage. That's what we have to start realizing. Most of the world goes through menopause. So, oh, did you freeze?
I'm still here.
Well, you're still there. Okay. So I think it's really, really important to start visualizing and seeing this worldwide sisterhood that has its own tenets and values, that has its own charter, that has its own vows, something like that, that I think is already in the making. Part of the book that I'm writing has to do with a movement. It has to do with that movement, and not with all of a sudden creating that. It has to do with understanding that a movement will ultimately be created through everybody taking charge of their own thresholds. As soon as we decide this is something we want, this is something we love, this is something that's going to change us for the better, and we start sharing our stories and sharing all the ways in which we have learned and coped, because it's not all roses and daffodils and ease, of course not, but neither is life itself. I mean, when has change not required the shedding of your whole entire skin? Of course it does. But how you perceive it, how you decide to live through it, creates your experience of it. So I think a council of women is there to help us remember to have experiences that are intentional. I have vowed a long time ago to have intentional, phenomenal experiences when it comes to every part of my life, but especially my rites of passage. So as soon as I decide that I'm going to have an intentionally phenomenal passage, the whole thing changes into something completely different than anything anyone has ever told me. It changes into something amazing and uplifting and helpful, and it gives me opportunities I wouldn't have anywhere else to really become the woman that I came here to be, because it's like built-in personal growth. That's what our rites of passage are. It's like, I believe that through our rites of passage alone, a woman can become fully enlightened.
Mm.
before she dies, and then can choose the moment of her own death
Oh, wow.
based on what would be correct or right that she would feel within herself for the collective that she's in.
Yeah.
Like that, literally, women are in the image of our creator. We are creators. So that means we are always receiving codes. We are always receiving information. We always know what to do. We always know what not to do. We just don't listen to it. And that's not our fault. It was definitely beaten out of us, but it is our responsibility to start listening again.
Yeah. And that's what everybody, seems to be saying. The matriarchs that have come on to our summit, it's all about just listening, to the mystic within, or the rebel man within, or the source within, or the Mother Earth speaking to you and through you, when you slow down enough to listen. It's like that is where our wisdom lies, that is what is possible. And most of us who are living a life like led by desire or on our own terms, or having escaped the matrix in whatever way that we can, that's pretty much all we do. It's no like there's no secret code or key that we can, tell people. It's literally listen to the inner whispers of your sweet, soft heart and take courageous action from that place. And it's not always easy, but it's always worth it to live like, by honoring the mystic or the wise woman or the matriarch within you. That's always calling us forward into our highest good and our highest potential.
And I think it would do us all good to remember too that we are in the midst of creating this sisterhood right now. All of us, everyone you've spoken to, this summit, so much of the information that's coming to light, we're just in those beginning stages, there will come a time where it's just like it's a normal part of life that every woman is part of that every girl knows about the existence of the sacred sisterhood or the enlightened council of women or whatever you want. And within there might be many more subsets of groups of women who are doing different things, whether it's political or family or war committees, or because as we become mystics, as we age, as we go through menopause and come out the other side, we have a point of view that men will never have.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not their job. That's our job because of what we've been through and because of our close commiseration, literally, with Source, with God. We are always communicating with God. We are not always listening, but we're always communicating with God. There's always the nudge, the whisper, the knowing. It always is there, But of course, what will that mean? Where will I land? Who will like me? How can I? So we are just like at the infant beginner stages. Like this is a privilege right here. Like we're beginning the creation of such a thing. It's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. And, I do want to presence, I guess, myself and you. We had beautiful, really great role models in our lives. Our mothers laid the foundations for us to have an imprint within us of believing in ourselves and, allowing ourselves to be initiated through the rites of passage that we've been on. But many people don't have that. And many people maybe did have a traumatic birth or did have a menarche where they were shunned or shamed, and did have a childbirth that really was traumatic too. And I'd love to, and as we know, one rite of passage leads on to the next. Do you have any wisdom for how we can reclaim our rites of passage, heal from any trauma that has been inflicted, and then move forth? Because I know that it is possible, even though if bad things happened in our rites of passage previously, we can heal them and we can choose differently about how we move forward with our life.
I want to say too that although I had a wonderful role model in one way, she was also traumatized herself, and she suffered a lot, and her suffering traumatized me. So things can be alive at once. And I think those two things are always alive at the same time in every person on earth. There's so many wonderful things we get from our raising, and there's also trauma that we receive from that. So her suffering, her inability to change her story, her inability to realize she was wrong about herself, that she really was worthy. That was a time where trauma was lived, not talked about. Now we have so much help and so many people we can see, and therapists and coaches, and it's the vernacular in our society, which is growth and change and taking responsibility and all of those things. So I don't think I have an advantage. I mean, in as much as everybody has an advantage in some way, because everybody was given something, you know what I mean? But I think we all have the same starting point, and it really comes down to choosing to use your rites of passage as your mother, as your teacher, as your grandparent. That's what it's there for. I can tell you that it was my rites of passage that, because she gave me that part, I was able to surrender to them. And in surrendering to them, those rites of passage were responsible for me letting go of so much of my trauma with my father, with my mother, with families, with my siblings. It's like the amount of growth that I didn't know that would occur. I didn't. All I knew was my mother's words. She didn't come here to destroy you, she said, perimenopause and menopause. She came here to uplift you and to bring you into fruition. Well, I didn't know what that meant, but it sounded good. So as I surrendered, because that's what I was told to do, was surrender to my rites of passage. Well, that's exactly what happened. So that doesn't mean it was a walk in the park. No way. I mean, there's still going to be hardships and difficulties and challenges and all kinds of situations that you don't have control over. Those are not the problem. That's just God in action. The problem is when you don't receive those and you don't realize that each of those things are opportunities for you to grow. And that's becoming more in our vernacular. More and more people are seeing that difficulties are not difficulties, they're opportunities. Yeah. That if you want to change and grow, then you've got to remember this is happening for me. So how can I use it to let go, to surrender more? And it also brought me into my feminine, surrendering to my rites of passage, because I grew up on the other side with a father who it wasn't safe for me to express myself with him, not even a little bit. So I grew up with a very heavy masculine way of being. So it really was my rites of passage that saved me. It was they became my salvation. Like there's nothing more feminine than menopause, let me tell you. And if you have the will to let go and allow her to move through you, you'll get everything you need and more. The goal is freedom. And that's what rites of passage give you, is more and more freedom.
Yeah. I love that, what you say there. A rite of passage for me, it's like a real fork in the road moment when we have the awareness to approach our rites of passage. Before we didn't, we couldn't help how we were birthed. We couldn't help how people treated us in our first bleed and menarche. We maybe didn't have the awareness or the feeling of empowerment to approach our births in a way that we could have had an empowered, peaceful birth, or maybe we were robbed of that by the medical complex that is so often intervening and filling us full of fear, but as we move on to menopause, there's literally no excuse anymore to not actually approach it with this awareness and this tenderness and this I guess excitement. And I know there are people, you know, not all women have a smooth ride. It can be quite confronting and quite difficult. But as you say, it's an opportunity. And it's also a really, really potent and powerful time to look at the way all of the other rites of passage showed up in your life and heal that, you know, take the different fork in the road this time. Now that you have the awareness of what might have happened and what maybe was lacking at the time of that transition, you can actually call on that quality now as you move into the next, right? And that's how we reclaim our rites of passage. That's how we heal the past. That's how we heal our lineages, by claiming our power back, by, you know, implementing or embodying what it was that was missing at that time, and rejecting, you know, the internalized patriarchy that might have happened, or the stories we might have told ourselves about ourselves because of what did or didn't happen. And then we get to choose the healed path forward, where we're really learning, where we're looking, where we're mining for the gold, and where we're like alchemizing fucking diamonds from stones inside of ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And I just really feel like there is a lot there. And if anybody does watching this does want to, you know, explore their rites of passage and how they might have affected them and how they show up in the world today, then please do reach out, because I do have a lot of resources, you know, to help you figure out what the story of your birth was, what the story of your menarche was, what the, you know, and even healing from traumatic births and stuff like that, which is very, you know, there's 1 in 3 women experience trauma at birth. And that's a huge rite of passage that, you know, we also get to bring some gentleness and heal from, so that we can move into menopause feeling empowered and feeling ready and feeling able to embody the mystic, you know?
Yeah, and I think like talking to women in your lives, to your relatives, to your mother, to your grandmother, like I remember I went on a quest. I asked every woman in my family about their period, about their menopause, about their perimenopause, about what, you know, what were the challenges, what did they go through? Because in your own mother and in your grandmother will be like a map of your own menopause right there. Like my mother had a bleed for 2 months before perimenopause took root. And she talked to me about that. And in my 40s, all of a sudden I started bleeding and it didn't stop. And I knew what it was. I knew what it was because of that. Now, after 2 months, I did decide to go to the hospital because I thought, well, I could barely walk up a flight of stairs, you know? And so they gave me a blood transfusion, which was fine and great, and I was thankful. But after that, the doctor wanted me, and it was a female doctor, and she wanted to give me 20 different kinds of tests. She was certain it was a tumor. She was certain there was something wrong with me, or I had fibromyalgia, or whatever it is. And I just looked at her and I said, it's perimenopause. And she said, you don't know what you're talking about. You're way too young for that. And at that moment, I knew. I just knew. I was like, wow, like this is what I was born for. Like even this woman who is a doctor has no idea how she arrives, or at least one of the ways. Not, she doesn't arrive like that for everybody, you know? But I just remember when she left the room, I got up and I got dressed and I went home. I was like, I know what to do here. And I was absolutely correct. So it's like, we don't need to be surprised by these crazy things. All we need to do is talk to one another. And then we're going to get an idea of the varied experiences of all kinds of women going through all kinds of things. Plus, we'll have ways of seeing it, ways of receiving it, ways of learning from it. That's really so much a part of what a sacred sisterhood is. It's so that we never have to pretend or guess or wonder. No, we can just ask somebody, hey, what about this? And it's like, oh, totally normal. This is what's going on, you know? Or I had this happen when I was going through it, and but like my menopause was almost a carbon copy of my mother's, like my perimenopause, how it came on, exactly the same, you know? And I even believe that when our perimenopause comes on is exactly when we are ready and willing for it to come on. It doesn't surprise us. We're just not tuned in. It's not out of ordinary or out of step or too early or too late. Nothing happens in this world without purpose. It has purpose, and it all has purpose and energy and direction, and you receive your perimenopause exactly when you're supposed to. And I would venture to say exactly when you wanted to. I had my one and only child at 32, believing that I would have many more children. Only ended up having one, and literally at 36, I already felt it. I already knew perimenopause was on the way. You know, it's different for every woman. It doesn't just have to do with biology. It has to do with soul agreements and connection with source and your purpose here. And there's so much going on that sets up how things are going to happen and why things are going to happen. And there are no mistakes.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And yeah, I mean, that really makes me think that, you know, in terms of initiations, and initiations are powerful portals for, like, you know, even grief is a powerful portal. Even like trauma is a powerful portal. You know, all of these things, whatever happens to us in our rites of passage, we can reclaim them. We can kind of, as I said, you know, teach ourselves, you know, embody a new story. And we can definitely rewire our brains. We can definitely hold on to different belief systems about ourselves, and we can move forward and heal. No matter what we've been through, we can heal, and we can reach out to each other, and we can ask the questions we need to ask in order to learn about, you know, who we are and why things are happening. So I love that. You know, ask about your birth if you can, whoever's watching. Ask your mother, or if she's not around, ask somebody. You can get hospital records, or you could go to a kinesiologist. There's lots of different ways, and start at the beginning. You know, even when I was about to have my baby, I asked my mom all about her pregnancy. I asked about what she was thinking about, you know, how she was feeling, and because all of that actually also is absorbed by the baby in the womb and can be a reason why you have beliefs about yourself, you know. So it's all connected, and it all is not lost either, because no matter what, we can our body holds these memories of things that our mind could not even fathom. And the more we can get into our bodies, the more we can listen to our bodies, the more we can heal from the inside out. We can live more liberated, more lit up lives. So yeah, get into your body, ask her and ask the people around you, and reframe the stories that you might have told yourself. You have the power, you have the ability to flip the script, as you say, and to choose something different. So yeah. So do you have any parting words?
Yes, oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that, like, reclaiming and remembering means that we are that already. We are that already. So, I mean, I think I said this to you before, after I was listening to, I forget her name now, but she was talking about matriarchal societies. And I just realized that even if we have been, you know, brainwashed into believe that there's a patriarchy, it's always been a matriarchy, and it will always be a matriarchy. All we need to do now is own it. That's all we're learning right now. We're not trying to create a matriarchy. God created that. That's already done. What we're attempting now is to own it and to nudge each other and to start saying, hey, let's get with the program, because this way of living, it's not serving anyone, not us, not our children, not the planet. So I think that's a really beautiful thing to keep in mind. Matriarchy's already here. We just have to claim it.
Yes, sister. What a brilliant ending to a great conversation. Thank you so much for all of that wisdom and all of that truth telling. And thank you for your trust in me to allow me to be the midwife for your story, and to, you know, really help you fulfill that lifelong dream that you have by contributing to Rebel Ma. If you want to just actually end with a little bit about what that journey was like for you, and whether you would encourage other women to write their stories, because I know that there's such alchemy in getting our stories out there and making our dreams come true, you know, and doing whatever we need to do in order to make that happen.
It was amazing. It was kind of the first time that I ever shared any part of my book with anyone. Do you know what I mean? And it just was like a little bit of a bolt of lightning to be a part of that book in a way. And doing it kind of started to open a whole bunch of other doors. And that's what happens, right? As soon as we sort of change our frequency a little bit, it goes out into the world and then it comes back to you in different ways. So now there's a fire under my ass to complete this book. It's almost done. And there are some publishers in the works, and there is some choices I need to make, and but all of that happened because of Rebel Ma. Because all of a sudden my brain switched and it was like, oh yeah, I'm a writer. Oh yeah, this is, and I was very seemingly far away from all of that until I published with Rebel Ma. And it just created an entirely new world. And yes, I would encourage, whether you're a writer or, you want something published, or if you just love writing and it's just a great way to share what you're going through. It's a great way to heal. It's a great way to connect with like-minded people. And it's a great way to create together. So I would encourage anybody, if you ever did something like that again, I would want to be a part of it again.
Oh yeah, well, it's already come through in this summit. Matriarchy now is our book.
Good.
She's not over
Yes.
yet. She's not over yet. So
No, I would definitely want to be a part of it.
woohoo! Amazing. I love it. Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. You are a dream. You're always such a fuck yeah. You're just like always there, popping in and saying yes to everything. And you're my kind of woman. So take care. And I look forward to continuing our journey and our dance through the Rebel Ma and matriarchy and the mystic and just owning all of who we are. How will people find you? Instagram, we have all of the links below.
Yeah. Instagram, Evolutionary Menopause. Substack is nothing but the truth. And Facebook, Evolutionary Menopause. So
awesome. All right. Connect and let's keep
this.
Thank
you so much for this opportunity. It was beautiful. I love being a part of this. I'm so happy for you.
Amazing. Thank you, darling. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Awesome.